Cheers, I do buckaroos, and how the heck are you? I am Tom the Beer and Whiskey Whisperer for the purposes of this video anyway. Oh, let me see if I can get that fixed here. There it is. All right. There we go. Anyways, I digress. How the heck are you? I am Tom the Beer and Whiskey Whisperer. Let me set this down now. I'm a little bit late because I got ready to do the video and I launched into an allergy attack. Man, I just couldn't stop sneezing. Not sure what set it off, but I was doing fine. And all of a sudden, it just hit me. Anyways, I digress. So I've got so the other day I did a video for one of the heirloom, one of the Pinckney Bent heirloom whiskeys, the Red Cobb, and here I have. Actually, I had two others I talked about at the time. I have the Hickory Cane and the Boone County. But here I'm just having the Hickory Cane. I poured 1.5 ounces of the Hickory Cane. It is 100 proof. There we go. Turn my light on there so I can see here. This variety of white dent corn was named prior to 1875, but Native Americans in northern Florida and southern Georgia originally cultivated it much earlier. Over time, Hickory Cane became popular in the South and in the Ozarks, where it was also known for making excellent whiskey. This one is aged, so all these are aged differently. I didn't realize that until I really started reading the fine print here. This one is aged 5 years, because the other one was only aged 2 years. This one is aged 5 years in new and used Missouri white oak cooperage. Again, Missouri white oak. It is my experience that American white oak will give you more spice notes than French oak, which will give you more vanilla spice, or vanilla notes rather. But Missouri white oak in particular will give you even heavier spice notes, I've noticed, particularly cinnamon anyway. So anyway, they do use Missouri white oak here. I am also having a beer with you though, and I'm going to put that down and put my other prop up here from Banter Brewing. I've got a little growler here of their Oktoberfest called Gabfest, 6.2%. It's a little big for the style, but not completely out of the range, but it is big. You see that big copper color, beautiful malty nose with herbal hints. It's absolutely gorgeous. Push that off to the side though for a second. Put that whiskey back up there. I just poured 1.5 ounces in my Pinckney Bent tasting glass. They give you the glass when you do the tasting there. Oh, it's gorgeous. Nice nose. What I found interesting about this heirloom series is the only difference is the corn variety, right? Well, again, how it was aged, I suppose, but it was interesting to me that it is just corn whiskey. It's all corn, just the variety of corn is different and how much different they all taste. I get a lot of oak and spice on the nose. Again, it is aged 5 years. I get this sweetness that's just a little bit different, though. Almost feels like more of a raw sugar note than, say, a brown sugar note. Biscuits. As always, anybody have any questions or comments, feel free to put it up there. Unless you're being a colossal douchebag, I will answer just about everything. If you're being a colossal douchebag, no, I'm not going to give you a forum just about your nonsense and be ignorant and hateful. I'm just not going to do it. But for the most part, I answer everything. I post almost every comment. Like I said, unless you're just being a giant asshat, and you know who you are. God, that beer is outstanding. It is my so in the interest of full disclosure, I do work for Banter Brewing, but it is my favorite Oktoberfest of the year. Although the Martin City is definitely in the same league. It is a little toothier than most, if you will, but I just really love what he's got going on here, and I really love the color. For me, it's the whole experience, right? That it just pours so beautifully. That color is just absolutely gorgeous. The nose is just incredible, man. Everything about this beer just screams Oktoberfest, baby. It is a Märzen, baby. Set that down. Pick this whiskey up again. I didn't do a video yesterday. I worked late. I didn't do my typical Friday videos. Again, I worked late. I thought about it once I got home, but I didn't. I just had a couple ounces of whiskey and called it an evening. It's an evening, baby. It's an evening. Yeah, I was tired, man. Mm. Well, I love the silky texture that this particular whiskey has. Yeah, very velvety smooth. I really like this. I really like these corn varieties. I did bought three. I bought the red cob, the Boone County, and then this one here that I'm having, the Hickory Cane. And the fourth whiskey that I bought was their stout cask. And they weren't cheap in all honesty. They were a little pricey for the small bottles, but boy, the products were just so outstanding. Believe they range between 35 and 40 for the 375s. So again, they aren't cheap, but boy, they are good. Really got me wanting to delve into corn whiskey more, though. I really enjoy these products and everything they had at Pinckney Bend, and we want to try more corn whiskey. So at a later date, I picked up this one at a Macadoodles in Branson, the Bloody Butcher red corn whiskey from Woodhat. This is their single barrel cask strength at 120.6. This one isn't playing at all. Well, I've got a friend though who had the same bottle. He wasn't impressed with it, but I really enjoyed it. And I think sometimes it's how you drink it. To be honest, I mean, some whiskeys drink better neat. Some drink on the rocks. Some are lend themselves well to cocktails. If you only drink on the rocks, well, not all the whiskeys are going to come through in the same manner. I usually try them in, typically when I buy a new whiskey, I try it both neat and rocks to see where it best fits. And a lot of that just kind of depends on the season too. As we get into fall, as we are, yeah, I tend to drink less on the rocks and more neat. My cocktails typically change from an old fashioned to a Manhattan, although I am currently out of sweet vermouth, I think. Maybe have just a little bit left, but I am due for a new bottle. But I have been experimenting with Manhattans, and instead of using the sweet vermouth, I've been using cream sherry and or excuse me, port wine. I guess it's not Manhattan, but it's the same idea. Kind of changes the game a little bit. But I'm waiting for it to get a little closer, a little colder, I guess. I've got a couple ports I picked up not long ago when my wife and I took a small vacation. But I want to get a little colder before I open those bottles up. Biscuits. I do love as we start. The only thing I love about colder weather are the beer styles, right? I'm not a fan of cold weather by any means, but I do love as it gets colder. We get into the Märtzens, then we get into the porters, then we get into the Doppelbocks, then we get into anything, imperial stouts and barley wines, anything chucked in any kind of a barrel. Yeah, and I really love those options. Anything in a bourbon barrel or a rye barrel or any kind of a spirit barrel, and just white oak for that matter. Just oak it. Just oak it, baby. Just oak it. I'm okay with that. Just oak that sub bitch. Yeah, anything in a barrel, man, I can dig it. And we're just about there. That's the only thing palatable about the cold weather for me, is that the beer styles just become so amazing. And the big whiskeys, anything, these 100 proof whiskeys like this really start hitting the spot as the cold weather approaches. I had been getting into cocktails almost solely there for a while, but now I'm feeling the whiskey neat thing again. I've been drinking less rocks. Rocks hasn't been working for me. Now I'm back to my whiskey neat phase because I thought about making a cocktail. I was going to pour 1.5 ounces neat, man. It's a no frills kind of day, baby. It's a no frills kind of day, baby. My wife and I have our 29th anniversary tomorrow, so I did have the weekend off, which was nice. We got some plans for tomorrow. I didn't know if I'd do a video today or not, to be honest with you, but a little time for a breather here. Watched a movie earlier. I went ahead and bought the latest Indiana Jones saga, and I liked it. It was a lot of action, a little bit more than I expected, to be honest with you, because they tend to really have a lot of setup Indiana Jones movies. And this one didn't. Got right into the action right away. I thought it was a good story. It's done well. Made me cry at the end with the last scene with Marion and Indiana Jones. I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it yet, but it made me cry a little bit for some particular reasons. Got a little misty right there, and becoming an old softy in my old age. Anyway, so I digress. Some say it's because your testosterone level goes down, and that's possible. But I honestly just think it's because you just let yourself be human. I think for a lot of us of a certain age, or that were raised by a certain generation, you're taught specific things that you shouldn't show emotion, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And I think at a certain age, you just don't care anymore. Right? And that's kind of where I am at this particular stage in life. I don't care. I don't care. A person should be able to show emotion without being judged. Man, that's delicious. I should have brought I should do a with all three and kind of look at the differences. But actually, I did that when I first got it. And I should do it again because I put them away for a while. So I bought these back in April. I drank quite a bit of them right away, but then I kind of tucked them away for a while. Now I picked up a bunch of stuff not long ago, and I opened up a good portion of them and started drinking. Then I started realizing how many open bottles I have, and I said, "Nah, it's time to finish some stuff up." I'm not one of those folks that like to collect stuff, right? I'm a drinker, not a collector. I'm never going to have 200 bottles like some of these folks have. I just don't. I don't look at the whiskey that way, or even beer that way. I don't look at beer as a collectible or an investment, or whiskey as a collectible or an investment. I buy the stuff I like to drink. Everything I buy, I intend on drinking. I'm not looking at selling it at some point, but depending on allocations. That kind of shit just drives me batshit crazy. I have never bought anything on a secondary market, or will I ever? Because I don't want anything that bad. There's too many. There are too many varieties readily available for you to just spend way too much money for average whiskey. Certain whiskeys have, certain whiskey, every whiskey, everything out there should have a particular price, that suggested retail price. And if you're paying more than that, well, then you're an idiot. And quite frankly, even if you're paying that, you're an idiot. I like to buy good stuff, but I'm not going to pay too much for it. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Paying $200 for a $60 whiskey just so you can say, "Hey, look what I did." It just doesn't make any sense to me. Or to buy specific bottles because they're allocated so you could try to sell them later for a profit. I mean, I just don't understand that mentality either. Maybe that's just because I'm just not a good capitalist. You're just not a good capitalist, stuff. No, no. No, I'm not. I think too much about people. I have too much empathy to be a good capitalist. I can never be a good capitalist. I have way too much empathy and intelligence for that matter. Ah, mercy, that's good. So beer and whiskey pairing. Some people like to do them, some don't. Some tell you one takes away from the other. For me, I don't necessarily look for like flavors and or aromas. I look for compatible flavors and aromas. Um, some flavors and aromas will bring out flavors and aromas in the other thing, depending on what you're having. Which is why I kind of had this particular pairing. Is I have a big malty beer with this, this big robust 5-year old 100 proof corn whiskey. And to be quite frank with you, yeah, it was a bit of a guess too, because I didn't taste the whiskey before putting the pairing. I just knew I was going to have this one, and I thought that one was kind of, well, I think it makes sense. You know, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but this one does work. I do love these heirloom corn varieties, though. I wasn't sure that I would, to be honest with you, but I really do, and because I like these so much, it really has me looking for other brilliantly aged, heirloom corn varieties. And there are some exceptions. There's always exceptions, but for the most part, I like to drink small. I like craft beer, so I like to buy as local as possible. Does that mean only buying local? Well, of course not. But when I do travel, which usually isn't very far, but when I do travel, I want to buy what's local there. So I'm always trying to buy as local as possible, depending on what region I'm in. And I try to do the same whether I'm drinking whiskey or wine as well. My wife and I really started getting into wine a little bit over a year ago. But again, I'm not looking to go to the store and buy those big names that everybody knows. Oh, you got to buy the California ones. Got to buy this. Got to buy these. Got to buy that. No, I'm going to buy small. I want to go. I want to buy from these small wineries and vineyards. I want to appreciate them and give them my business. I do that no matter what I'm drinking, whether I'm drinking craft beer, whiskey, or wine. And which I find interesting is I have a lot of craft beer friends that do that preach local when it comes to beer, but not when it comes to whiskey or wine. And I find that mentality a little interesting. It's almost as if there's a disconnect. They want to buy local as possible when it comes to beer, but they only buy the big brands when it comes to whiskey. And again, I just can't make that make sense because there's so many great small distillers out there. So many great. Again, this one's New Haven, Missouri, just a little north of Washington, Missouri. Uh, got Dogmaster in Columbia. Here in Springfield, we've got Tiaki Da. There's just great stuff everywhere. You just got to look for it, man. Spend money on those little guys. Quit paying too much for Blanton's. Quit paying too much for Buffalo Trace. Buy this other stuff. It's out there and it's available and it's better. Well, sometimes the word better implies quality. So I would say it's every bit as good quality wise, if not better. But again, I really think most of it is better. I think people are brainwashed by certain brands that they should have to have certain things, and I just again I just disagree with that mentality 100%. Buy what's available. Buy there's stuff on the shelf. Don't worry about the allocated nonsense. That is hype. It is nothing more than hype meant to make morons spend more money than they should have to. And if you're spending more money than you should have to, well, you're a moron. because there's other stuff available, man. If you've ever paid $50 for a bottle of Buffalo Trace or more, well, then here's your sign, because that's a $25 whiskey at best. I mean, it's good, but it's not great. Quite frankly, if we're talking comparable price points, I'd rather have Larceny than Buffalo Trace. But then again, see, here's the other side of that is I bet you have a small distillery in your neck of the woods that for about the same money, which is every bit as good. Again, for me here in Springfield, it's Tiaki Da, but in Columbia, it's got Dogmaster. New Haven, they've got a Pinckney Bend. We're up in Kansas City a few weeks back, I hit Restless Spirits. I didn't get to Lifted Spirits. I really wanted to, but I bought a product from them. I found it in a liquor store. I wanted to get to the distillery, but I didn't. But I did buy a product. We got Restless Spirits. We got Lifted Spirits. We got Union Horse. I mean, there's just so many great small distillers out there. I just don't understand why folks, especially craft beer guys, that are so concerned about buying small when it comes to whiskey, do the exact opposite. I just don't get that at all. Anyways, I digress. Didn't intend to get on a soapbox, but sometimes it happens. Hey, man, we don't. It's unscripted, man. The writers are on strike. I'm all unscripted, baby. Unscripted, uncensored. Anyway. That's nice. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, I was looking at some of the stuff I've got here. I've got this District Made I've had for, gosh, I bought this around St. Patrick's Day, so I've had this one for quite some time. So I've been trying to work on some rather than a lot of the bottles I bought in Kansas City a few weeks ago. I opened because I want to taste them at the time, but I've still got several bottles I didn't open. But before I even finish up those bottles that I opened, I want to work through some of this other stuff that I opened a while back and get to it. I really enjoy this one though too. This District Made, I think it's a very fine straight bourbon whiskey. This one's at 95 proof. It's a really nice whiskey. Anyways, I digress. Give me the last look at this heirloom whiskey from Pinckney Bend. This is our Hickory Cane, and again, I'm going to read a little bit here. Read it earlier, but just so you're aged 5 years in new and used Missouri white oak cooperage. There you go. Let me show you that bottle. The other one that I'm not having, just to kind of the other one here, the Boone County. This one's only aged 1 year. Aged 1 year in new and second use Missouri white oak cooperage. The other one I had, the Red Cob, was aged 2 years. So they're all a little bit different. Anyway, hey man, I'm Tom, the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and I'm also Tom, the Beer Whisperer, Beer Evangelist, prolific beer drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and all right, good guys, launch you. Thanks for tuning in.